Hey there, sweet friends. I hope you are all well. I am happy to welcome you to day 8 of our 12 Days of Christmas in July tutorial series. If you're just joining in, you can find links at the top of the description for the first 6 days so you can get caught up. And don't forget to listen throughout the video for the question of the day. And for day 8, we're going to create this accordion style folio with a 6x6 paper pad. So we have plenty of room in here for all of our pictures and our journaling. This is a nice way to capture all of those Christmas memories. And it was pretty easy to put together. And in the end, I was able to work through an entire paper pad. Along with this book, I did create a 6x6 greeting card and then also a tag. So if that sounds good to you, then stick around and we will make it together. Okay, friends, we're working with the Paper Rose Merry Little Christmas 6x6 paper pad. And I will admit, of all the projects that I've created for this series thus far, this is the one that nearly broke me. And I absolutely loved the woodland theme of this and nature. I liked the colors. It was kind of vintagey. I did not take into account the fact that this has no full-size cut-aparts. And so finding a suitable focal image was going to be a challenge. And so I went back and looked before I started filming, and they don't have any open stock 12x12 paper. So if you want to get a larger focal image or a cut-apart page, you're going to have to get into that 12x12 collection. And I did not want that because I don't want to add it to my stash. So I did manage to make it work. It was a journey, not a fun one, but we did get there in the end. And so I really actually love the project that I have to share with you today. And so I also considered this to be a bit of a personal challenge to go through the rest of it. Once I was in it, what was left, I decided to get used up because I definitely was not going to add it to my stash. So make sure you watch till the end of the video and I'll show you what else I created and the few little bits that are left over. But I did win in the end. It did not beat me. So that is all that counts. Now let's get into the base. As I shared in the intro, this is going to be an accordion style, and I am going to use my little post-it notes to keep my pages in order. I do have to remember to flip them as I work along so that the accordion will fold properly. And so I'm just going to use this as my little cheat to make sure I don't glue things in the wrong place. I've already had a challenge enough to get it to this point, and I don't want to have to go back and fix any mistakes. So I am going to work with this jelly bean green cardstock. I have it cut to be 6 high by 10 1/8 wide. It's scored at 5 and 5 1/8. So our overall dimension is going to be 6 high by 5 wide. And I'm just building in a little bit of space there because we do have paper layers coming in and I want it to fold properly. So of course we're going to need that 2 glue combo to connect these. And I'm starting with my double-sided adhesive. I've already got that on and I'll follow up with my Tombow. I'm going to do that for each of these layers. So if I don't show that portion, just know that is the steps I took to get these adhered, just so that they will be well secured. So let's bring in piece number 2. Now I have 4 of these total. 3 of them have the tape inside. So I'm just going to add those by lining up the edge with my score line, keeping it nice and straight and even along the bottom there. I'll pull my post-it note. So now I can fold this up and see where the next page needs to go. For number 3, I need to add it here so that we continue that zigzag. Our accordion will fold properly. So let's pull the tape from page number 2 and then add our secondary glue and adhere these together. I would like to say that I don't need the Post-it notes when I'm just upstairs working along and I don't have to prepare all of these bits in advance for filming, but honestly, it's just a little bit of extra time and sure can save a lot of hassle if you accidentally get something glued in the wrong spot. So I just do it to keep myself on track. Okay, so now we've got Okay, so now we've got that third one added. Here is the last one, and I need to add it here. Remember, on this fourth one, I have the tape on the outside. If you had 12 by 12 paper to work with, you could make this accordion the full width of 6 inches like our paper pad. I'm just working with some 8.5 by 11, so I had to decide that my cutoff point would be 5 inches for the width so that I could double it and then add the width I need for the spine. But you wouldn't need to do that if you're going to use 12 by 12 paper. However, it did come in handy to have those extra strips that I cut off the pages, and I'm going to show you how I layer those when I get to that point. So I think this was a good use for that 6 by 6 paper pad, even though our book is going to wind up to be 5 inches wide. Okay, now we've got our accordion to fold out. Remember that we have our tape on the back for number 4. This is going to adhere the accordion portion to the cover. So you do want to have something to corral all of those layers once they're folded up. And so our cover is the same green cardstock. It is cut to be 6 inches high by 10.5 wide, scored at 5 and 5.5. I'm going to add my tombow. Flip that over. Remember that we want this first page on the top, and then add it right alongside that score line again. And that just keeps everything nice and straight and even. And now we can pull that post-it note off, and this is going to be the base. So take this to any collection, any holiday, any theme, and you're going to be having an easy way to get all of these paper layers together. So now we can start to work on the pattern paper. For that, I am going to use my 2 glue combo again, simply because this paper for this collection has a little bit of a gloss to it, and I want to make sure that it is well secured. So I'm going to continue on with those 2 glues as I work, and so I recommend that you would do that as well if you pick up Paper Rose or any kind of collection that's a little bit glossy. So the measurement for this is 5 7/8 by 4 7/8, and that is throughout the whole book, also the front and the back cover. So this is just one set of measurements, and that will make it very easy to cut and get a lot of use out of your 6 by 6 paper pads. So I'm going to get a nice border of that green from the base. And then these are the 2 pages that I have that don't match, just because I wanted to incorporate this as sort of a special photo mat in case you had one specific image that you wanted to feature in the front of the book. And I didn't want to have 2 wreaths together, so we're going to use this. And as I work along, I am going to be putting on my 2 glues and centering each one. Occasionally it will be easier to fold out that accordion and then pull it as close to you as you can to get it centered. So that is page 2. I'm going to work for the rest of the pages in groups of 2, so a 2-page layout essentially. And I'll just go ahead and add those, and then we'll speed that up and give you a little bit of music to listen to while I do. Thank you, Tech Hubby, for the beautiful music for our videos, and then I'll rejoin you when I have all these pages in place. Okay, so that's going to be all of the full-size pages adhered. And I'm going to flip this over and add my first border strip. And so remember that I said as I was cutting the pages, I wound up with just some narrow strips. And so I wanted to incorporate those as a layering pattern just to give it a little bit more interest. And so I have these cut to be 5 7/8. That's the height. And for my book, I'm just going to have them on the outside edges. And then I did off camera put my double-sided tape and glue on these so that I have my 2 glue combo, and then I can just continue to work along. And while I do this, I think it is time for the question of the day. So let me know, is there anything that you have that you collect as a family tradition every year? Maybe it's a mug, or maybe it's a t-shirt or an ornament or some kind of collectible. For Tech Hubby and I, we collect the Christmas Vacation Department 56 series, and so that would be from the movie. And every year we each get to pick one item. They are not cheap, y'all, and so we are just building our collection over time. And so far we have the bus, and we have Cousin Eddie, some of the smaller scene ones, like the one where they are sledding, and also the family truckster with the tree on top. I think that was year 1 we picked that one up, and I think it will be fun to continue to add to our collection over the years. Now, we live near Bronner's in Frankenmuth, Michigan, and so they claim it to be the world's largest Christmas store. I don't know from personal experience if that is accurate or not, but it sure is big, and they have a lot of the villages, all different types of the Christmas villages. They even have Halloween, which I think is so fun. So let me know in the comments what it is that you collect one of or several of every year to build a collection. And this is going to be just the last couple of strips here. I think you can tell this is actually adding a nice detail for these pages without a lot of bulk. Now remember, this collection did not have a cut apart image sheet, so we don't have any reason for pockets at this time for those kind of inserts. It will give us nice big pages though, so if you have full-size pictures, you can incorporate that over the layers. And then the back side, the B side of these patterns, has kind of a nice non-contrasting pattern, and so you could write on that if you're going to do your journaling. You saw me flip this a few times as I was working along just to ensure that I had those directional patterns going in the right way. And this is going to be our last strip. There are a lot of paper layers here. It is very thick and very chunky and very sturdy. So let's go ahead and work on the outside. So let me make sure that I got this flipped around so I can cover the back. Yep, this is this way. Off camera, I did add my 2 glues. So I've got my double-sided adhesive there and also that Tombow. Look at that image. So here's where my problem came, and that is these are really small, like for real. And so I was not going to be able to fussy cut that out on that. You'll see in a minute when I get this flipped around how I came up with this solution. I did pick that same wood grain for the front cover as well, but I just changed the direction of it so that it would have the lines going vertically. And so this is just going to get centered on this page here. Here is the point in the process where I was just moving things around and repositioning things and sorting it out so that I could come up with some kind of a focal image and a layered design for the cover. So I originally thought I could just have this woodland scene, but there was no way to kind of incorporate all the finishing details that I wanted to add at that time. I did sort of figure it out for the next project. I'll show you at the end, but at the moment I just couldn't sort it out. And so what I'm going to do is layer this under here. That will give me a border on the top and bottom of that wood grain. So this particular paper pad had 3 of each pattern, so I could come in and cut with my circle die that little squirrel out. And so this is going to become my focal image, and I'm going to layer it over top here. I've got a couple of other details to add first. And so from the offcuts, I just went in with a dovetail or a fishtail banner shape that has a nice stitching edge. And I cut out 2. One is smaller and one is obviously green and red. Now this is going to leave a little bit of that background pattern showing, and there is a squirrel bum right here. So we're going to have to cover that up with another layer. Did you ever think I would say squirrel bum in a Christmas video? Well, now I have. All right, so here is my solution. I got this little doily, and I'm going to position it here as low as I can because I know I have quite a large flower arrangement to put on the top. And because this has too many little intricate pieces, I'm going to just go ahead and glue that with hot glue. And now here is that fussy cut image. I'm going to offset that a little bit closer here so that I get the effect of my doily. I did put that on a layer of that green cardstock as well, and then popped it up on spacers so we can build some dimension. Okay, here is that flower arrangement. I just have a combination of made by me poinsettias, and then this one came from Really Reasonable Ribbon. This is a magnolia that I altered so that it would better fit the theme of my project. Of course, I have die cut leaves here, netting, loopy twine bows. I've incorporated a large star for this just to fill in a little bit. And then I do have a pretty green plaid ribbon for the top. I'm adding that with hot glue, being careful not to overlap the edge or cover up the little squirrel. Now that I know where all of those flower layers are going to land, I'm going to bring in my charms, and I want to pull back one of these leaves here and add that to the paper behind it, and then I can come back in and re-adhere that so that I can hide those strings. Cut the excess string, and then I'll just add a little bit of extra glue to the back of this leaf. And then reattach that to cover the cut strings. Okay, one more detail here before we move on. I've got a tiny little Christmas greeting that I cut from that border strip, and I cut a little notch here, and I put that on spacers, but this time I used the scrapbook adhesive thin foam tabs. So it does have dimension, but not quite as much as the ones I put behind the circle die. So now we have a greeting, and I do want to incorporate a couple of these sequins. Putting those on with Tombow. And that's going to be it for our accordion project for day 8. Remember I mentioned that I had a couple of other things finished because I just wanted to get through the rest of that paper pad. And so I do have a greeting card, and you can see how I tried again to incorporate that woodland scene, but I figured out that I could fill in that negative space with more ribbon, of course. So I tied a nice little bow here and put my charms, and I wrapped that ribbon around. So it's kind of acting as a border. And then I did layer up some of these strips that were left over and added a couple of my handmade flowers here just to fill that in. I did finish the inside as well, and that was courtesy of more of those smaller strips so that I could fill in the amount of space. There was a little bit of the image showing here, so I topped it with a glitter star, and then I just added one to the right hand side as well so that I could get a good balance. The last project I worked on was just a little tag. Once again, I brought strips together to fill in the space, and I had a stitched edge die that was a tag, so I thought that would be a good use for this. I just added those pattern papers and trimmed it like I would any other like card. Not a lot of room, so I didn't add a charm, but I did get all of my other elements in, and I left the back blank because I plan to add it to an A2 size card base. So here is what is left of that entire paper pad. Of course, there were a couple little slivers from die cutting those banner shapes, but this is all, and I can throw this away and not feel guilty about that at all. And I feel like I did conquer that challenge to get through all of it. So I'm really proud of myself for sticking with it. Sometimes when you have a challenging project, it feels like it's just easier to move along to the next one. But once I had my heart set on finishing it, I just really wanted to do it. And I love how it turned out. So I'm glad that I took that challenge and conquered it. So that's going to be it for day 8. Make sure you join me tomorrow for day 9. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. You can find links in the description below. I am wishing everyone a happy and productive day. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.